I cannot believe what I just witnessed as the Milwaukee Bucks pull off a massive win against a shorthanded Orlando Magic team in a game that saw a lot of positives. We saw Chris Middleton play really well, and it looks like the missing piece that the Bucks needed. We're going to break that down as well as discuss Dame's performance in the fourth, as well as, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He continues to perform very, very well. But before we get into all that, folks, if you're a part of the 83% that aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Bucks content. And we're on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So if you're enjoying the daily content, make sure to smash that subscribe button. It would mean the world to myself as we approach that goal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a game from the Milwaukee Bucks. And it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty at all. Heading into this game, you were thinking, hey, this is probably going to be a fairly easy win. You're playing against an Orlando Magic team that, of course, doesn't have Jonathan Isaac, but also tonight didn't have Paolo Banchero. And heading into the game, you're thinking, hey, this is a very winnable game. They can go out and they can, in the NBA Cup and win. And Giannis had 37-7. We're going to dive into a ton of things. And there's some positives. There's some negatives for sure. I mean, the Bucks did not look great tonight, but they managed to pull it off. And that's kind of what matters at this point, is kind of just, winning games. Obviously, there's going to be games like tonight where your bench isn't looking great. Gary Trent Jr. is almost a non-factor. AJ Green did some positive things. I loved his defense out there tonight. But again, you look at the team from up and down, and something that needs to be addressed is in the NBA, the last minute of that game took like 20 minutes. I don't know if it was actually 20, but it took so long. Some questionable calls by the officials. We saw a jump ball that ended up being called a foul that was actually not a jump ball and gave, Bobby Portis the ball back. So there's a lot of things to dive into here, but let's start from the top and talk about Giannis and Dame. And again, their connection is just paramount at this point. Dame with 28 and 9, and he's averaging, I don't know if it's a career high in assists, but he's getting so many assists, and it's because he's able to really kind of trust his teammates now. Ajax continues to play in the starting lineup, only played 8 minutes, but Taurean Prince, he hasn't looked the same since he's gotten that non-COVID related illness, which is a little bit unfortunate because he was really one of their best players, one of the Milwaukee Bucks' best players when he was healthy, I guess. And obviously at this point, they're at a point now where it's like, you kind of don't really know what you're going to get from him on a daily basis, because some games you're getting prime, not prime, but really good Taurean Prince. And then other games you're getting a bit more shaky Taurean Prince, like tonight when they only had, he had no points in tonight's game. But again, as long as I'm a bit worried, but I think he'll be okay. But Giannis and Dame, like, man, oh man, Dame obviously hit a huge step back three to tie the game. That was a huge part of this game. We saw Giannis the entire game dominate from start to finish, going downhill, hit 7 out of 10 free throws. Dame got to the line a bunch tonight, obviously penetrating a lot more than usual. He only went 2 for 5 from 3. We usually see Dame get a lot more 3-point shots up, but ultimately he remained aggressive in the paint, and that helped a ton. We saw him play some okay and serviceable defense, but this is exactly what you need. And when you're talking about that Dame trade, and you're talking about how it affected, Drew Holiday and all these different things, this is the exact reason you trade for a guy like Damian Lillard. In the clutch, he hit the step back three, or he hit the pull up three, and the pull up three tied the game. They go down. Of course, they ended up winning the game, but it's exactly what you needed. You need a closer, and yes, Giannis can do that, but not to the same pedigree as Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has been a closer. He had one of the best clutch shooting percentages in the NBA for years with the Blazers. He comes in, you want to give that guy the ball in the clutch. No matter what is happening, he is the one who you want to have touch the ball, and he proved it tonight. He won them that game, and I don't know if they win that game if they don't have Damian Lillard, or if they have Drew Holiday or something instead of Dame. And also Chris Middleton, who off the bench, it was a very interesting one because he didn't score any points, but man, oh man, was this facilitating something to watch. Like I mentioned it in the last video, in the last game, his on-ball skills, I don't know if they've improved or if he's just a bit, not less confident right now, not as confident in his jump shot. He is facilitating like something crazy in the third quarter, especially. He took over the game when it comes to being a floor general for the team, and it's at something that they needed, and it was at a time where they needed it. We talk about how Damian Lillard and Giannis, they having another ball handler, having another guy who can bring the ball up the floor, who can facilitate to take pressure off of Damian Lillard is super important, and is really paramount to having, this core work. And he literally took over like the point guard role there in the third quarter. He finished with 8 assists, 3 steals, played some very solid defense, especially for his, caliber, his age, and especially coming off of injury. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved AJ Green's defensive effort as well. He went 3 for 8. He's truly turning into one of a very interesting and very prominent 3-and-D player in this league. And as you look at what they can continue to do going forward with this group, I love the way AJ Green looked out there. He played 33 minutes, and that's obviously because we saw it. Gary Trent Jr. wasn't feeling it. Ajax, Taurean Prince. AJ Green can be I don't know about a starter, but a very good bench player, especially with the way his defense was. But it was interesting. And one thing I also want to note, watching AJ Green shoot the ball with such confidence is so impressive. Like you look at him and he's every single time he shoots a three, there's no change in confidence level. He can go 0 for 8 and he's shooting the ninth one exactly the same as he shot the first one. And that's something that obviously comes with great shooting. But for a young player, 25 years old, first real opportunity in the NBA, you'll love to see that from the rookie there. So very not rookie, but from a young player. And I guess it's time to talk about Bobby Portis. I mean, he dominated as well. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. That is now he's missed 3 shots in the past 2 games. He was coming off of an absolutely amazing performance against the Brooklyn Nets. He comes out and he has a phenomenal performance as well. And I've been discussing on this channel over and over again how much better he is when he is, instead of posting up every time, he's playing in the corners. He allows Damian Lillard to drive and kick, allowing especially Giannis to drive and kick off the on-ball screens with Damian Lillard when he brings it up. When Damon, even Brook Lopez and Dame running the pick and roll, there's so much gravity that immediately goes towards Damian Lillard that when you're looking at the corners, if Bobby just stays there, he's open most of the time. And what that's allowing to happen is Bobby getting much higher percentage shots than his post fades or even his any of his post hook moves. And it's allowing Bobby to just shoot high percentage shots and play well. And he's been great on the glass as well. Defense is still a little bit to be desired, but got a steal and a block there tonight as well. Brook Lopez looked a little bit slow tonight. He definitely looked a step slow. He looked like he didn't really fit within the scheme, the team they were playing, and the rebounding was definitely a problem as well. They only finished with what was it, 30 rebounds, something like that. So ultimately, it was an interesting game on that front, but I don't know. Ajax had a rough game. Gary Trent Jr. had a rough game, but I think ultimately, there's some things to definitely clean up. But the way that Chris Middleton commanded the floor and just was able to facilitate, helping Bobby Portis do better, helping Dame, helping Giannis, those are the things. And again, they've won 2 games in a row now, and Chris Middleton has been a big part of both of them, even though he hasn't been scoring a lot. He's clearly not quite confident yet in his shooting, but in a game where you only get 6 points from Gary, 0 points from Chris Middleton, you're able to pull off the win against a pretty solid Orlando Magic team, albeit without Paolo Banchero there. It was a game you had to win. The Bucks played terrible. Let's not kid ourselves. They should have won this game by a lot more. It's a very, injured and rough Orlando Magic team for tonight. But I don't know. It was an interesting one. I loved the way that Middleton. That was the biggest star of the show tonight for me. Like a guy who scored 0 points, having such an impact in the game with his facilitating and assists. You absolutely love to see it. But ultimately, the team is starting to roll. They're starting to play really good basketball. And yes, tonight was a pretty bad game, but the way that they were able to grind out a win, despite playing some of the worst ball of their season, is exactly what you want to see from a team like this. And I'm excited to see what they can continue to do going forward with Middleton, Giannis, and of course Damian Lillard as their trio, because the sky's the limit for these guys, and I think it's going to do well. But that'll wrap it up. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. See you later.